Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the new artifacts in the solo leveling Arise. We're going to compare them with the old sets and figure out which ones are actually worth using right now. Keep in mind this is a first impressions video. I've done some quick math, but I'll follow up with a more detailed video once I get more testing done. So let's start with main DPS units, and we'll split them up by stat scaling. There's attack scaling, defense scaling and HP scaling. And for attack scaling characters, the question is the new Infamy 8-piece set better than mixing it with Expert or sticking with the older sets? So what does Infamy do? The do set effect uses when you use this skill, it grants the user the Infamy effect. Infamy increases your basic skill damage by 1.5%, stacking up to 20 times, going to 30% basically, and you take some damage. The foresight effect increases your basic skill damage from 30% to 50%, with the same damage taken percentage, and it also recovers some of your MP, so it could be good for some MP hungry units. And 8 set effect, it's good for teamfight modes, it increases your damage dealt by a ton in teamfight modes, and when you get the stack 10 times, you get the chaotic infamy effect. It increases the user's basic skill and ultimate skill damage by 100%, and you'll no longer take damage. So it doubles your basic attack and ultimate skill damage, which sounds broken, but it's not that simple. The expert set, for example, gives plus 160% attack from its 4-piece bonus, which is massive if your character scales off attack. So the question will be, is 4 curse or 4 infamy the better choice, or if, for instance, 2 curse to infamy is better than the other two. If you go for infamy, you get the basic skill damage bonus, the 30% basic skill damage bonus, and with the curse you get the 30% damage bonus to your damage overall. So in terms of damage, you're going to deal more damage with 4 curse than for infamy, since you're going to deal damage with both your ultimate and your basics and core attacks, making it so the 8 skill foresight effect is actually better when with curse than infamy, since infamy only increases your basic skill damage and not the rest, making it so the longer the fight goes on, the more damage you deal with curse, and in comparison to the infamy set. But what about if we mix both of them? Well, when you mix both of them, you get the 2-set effect of Infamy that increases your basic skill damage by 30%, and the 2-set effect from Curse that gives 20% general damage. With the Expert set for the attack scaling, you actually get a great deal of damage without losing any damage from both sets. You're losing 10% from the curse for sets effect, but you compensate that with the 30% bonus damage from basic skills, meaning that you're going to deal even more damage with your basic skills than with the foresight effect, but you're still doing good damage with your ultimate skill and your basic attacks and core attacks. While Infamy, even though you're losing 20% basic skill damage, you actually gain a ton more damage with the 2-set effect, since you're going to deal increased damage with your ultimate and your basic attack and core attack. And of course, with the expert set, you get an insane boost in your attack. This combo lets you use the best artifacts from each set, which also makes farming a bit easier. In tests, it's slightly out damage 4-piece builds, especially if you're spamming basic skills. The more basic skills you use, the better the 2-piece curse, 2-piece infamy will be in the long run. There will be probably a video showcasing the both versions. The first one will be the fight using the curse set, the 4 curse for expert, and the second video will be 2 curse to infamy for expert, making it so you can see if you feel like the 2-piece version is actually better or not than 4-piece curse. Now for HP and defense scaling units. The story will be a bit similar. You're going to be replacing expert with obsidian in this case. Obsidian gives you an increase in damage dealt by 60%. And instead of the attack scaling, but since you're going for HP or defense scaling units, you don't need the attack scale. So the damage increase from outstanding ability will give you the most damage boost you can ask for, and the situation will be the same as the attack scaling units. You either go for curse or for infamy or I think it's slightly better to Curse to Infamy with 4 Obsidian. It will be the best damage combination since it will scale both your basic skills and in case of your units, your hunters, since Sanguineo scales off attack and not HP or defense. For hunters, you usually don't basic attack as much with them, you just use your abilities and switch to this next one, making it so that 2 Curse to Infamy is actually better than 4 Curse. But there's an interesting thing, there's a twist. In defense scaling characters actually benefit more from Iron Will. The 33% bonus defense from the set makes a bigger difference than other options, so for Iron Will for Obsidian is actually worth using over the other combinations. The fact that you get 33% increased defense makes it so it's a bigger boost than any other combination. For overall damage, you have a 33% bonus damage in all your abilities, instead of just your skills or just your ultimate. For defense scaling units, Iron Will could actually be the better option. And now for breakers. For breakers, it comes down to their role. If they're just there to buff your DPS, it's better to go 8 Desire for that 40% elemental damage team buff. As you can see, the set effect, you increase your break effectiveness by 30% and your damage of the user skill with break effect by 50%, so you're going to deal an extra 50% damage bonus on your skill, and user and team members elemental damage increases by 40%, so overall this set will make it easier for you to deal damage while being the best to buff your team. In comparison to Grid, you're going to deal a bit less damage with Grid, unless, of course, you don't actually crit as much as you do with Grid. If you're not critting that much, this set will eventually deal less damage than the Grid set, since you have a 15% bonus crit rate with Burning Grid. But if you're actually critting enough, and you don't really miss crits that much, then the Desire set will be the best one to increase your damage and your team's damage. But if you want to go for damage on your breakers, you want them to deal more damage, then the destructive set actually gives you more damage to your breakers, since it increases your user skill damage with break effect by 30%, and if you have the force set effect, it increases by 60% instead, which means that if you go 4 piece destructive, 4 piece infamy, you're actually going to deal more damage with your skills than with the 8-piece infamy, desire, than 8-piece desire, but it's still overall better to use the desire set instead of the destructive set, if you care about your team buffs instead of just your own damage. For supports, for support characters not much changes, Blessing is still great. That said, the new Shining Star set boosts attack more than the other support sets. As you can see, when the user or team member tags in, it increases their attack by 12%. The force set effect increases to 28%. For 15 seconds, you're getting a boost of 28% attack to your team members. So if you have an attack scaling unit, this 28% bonus damage will be more damage overall than any other set could give your attack scaling unit. So it's probably the best choice for your supports that will buff your attack scaling units. If your team doesn't scale off attack, then you can just go with either the Blessing set or the new Wish set. Or you can also use the Sylph set for the elemental damage bonus. It will depend on what you have and substats. There's no... For attack scaling, I think Shining Star will be the best choice, but for the rest of the hunters and the ones that don't scale on attack, it's going to be down to substats and what you have and what you want to run, basically. So in conclusion, for attack scaling DPS, to Curse, to Infamy and for Expert seems to be the one that deals the most damage. For HP scaling, the idea will be the same, but instead of Expert, use Obsidian. For defense scaling units, Iron Will and Obsidian actually will be the best choice for overall damage in comparison to the 2 Curse to Infamy combination. In case of breakers, 8 Desire will be the best choice for buffs and the damage, since Destructive will give you a bit more damage, but it's just slightly more and doesn't compensate the fact that you're not getting as much buffs to your team as the 8 Desire set will give you. And supports. Blessing will be still one of the best choices with the attack scaling DPS, wanting the Shining Star artifact set to give you a bit more damage. And that's it for now. If this helped, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!